everyone. We are on a mission today to celebrate singles. That's what we're trying to do. And we really just want to change the way that the world experiences singleness. My name is Catherine. We got Christy co-hosting today, and we've got a guest on the podcast named Tyler. He's amazing. And we're just so excited to hear from Tyler, what he carries, what he wants to share with the world. And like we said, to celebrate singleness. And this is a project. It's grassroots. It's just beginning, but we are really looking forward to what's going to happen today. And so Christy, take us there. What's going on?
Yes, we are so excited to introduce y'all to my friend Tyler. Welcome, Tyler.
Hey, everyone. It's great to be on.
Yes, we are pumped for this conversation today. So Tyler and I met, I don't know how long ago, a few years ago at a conference in Austin, Texas. And then he ended up flying out to Kona, Hawaii. I was hosting a leadership retreat there. And that's how actually all three of us met, Catherine as well.
That's right.
And had ourselves so much fun in Hawaii. That was a blast. And yeah, we've gotten to do a couple different projects with some nonprofits. And I'm just so excited for everyone to get to know Tyler some more. As we kind of approach this project, really one of our primary goals was to really celebrate the amazing people that we know of that are doing incredible things all over the world.
Right.
And they also happen to be single. And Tyler is one of those friends. And we're just so pumped to have you here, Tyler. Thanks so much for taking the time and excited to kick off the convo. So I guess I first want to just brag on you a little bit. I feel like Tyler is one of these friends. He has so many dimensions to him, and you think you've learned it all, and then you find out 5 other things that he's done that I just really, you're so worth celebrating, Tyler. I love everything that is in the package of Tyler. So he and I actually both have in common. We both worked in tech in San Francisco. And that has taken him all over the world, and he's been able to impact a bunch of different things globally, which has been really, really cool. And so, Tyler, do you want to talk towards that a little bit of just being in singleness, how that's been able to give you the freedom to be able to take some work projects and different things?
Yeah, absolutely. Over the last 6 years or so, I'd say that one of the coolest things is just being able to get on a plane in an instant. Right, whether that be going out to Hawaii to work with y'all, or seeing friends, taking an opportunity overnight. Okay, let me just book a plane. Let me get out there. But when it comes to work, it actually allowed me to do a lot of extended travel throughout Asia. So, working with innovation organizations and opening innovation centers in China, working with clients in Japan, taking fun trips to Bali. At one point in time, I don't think I slept in my own bed for over a month. That's just one of those things that just wouldn't be feasible, in a longer marriage or anything like that, without its repercussions. But for me, it was truly a joy and an honor to go through and to see a lot of the different things there. So, ton of fun. Just that spontaneity and that serendipitous ability to travel has been really great.
So cool. Do you have any favorite stories of just a time where, I'm sure there are some good ones from Bali and all sorts of different ones.
Yeah, I think some of the cool things there, well, the whole Bali trip was just totally random. I was supposed to be in Japan for a work trip and then in China for a work trip. And then I was supposed to go back to China a week later. I'm like, no way am I doing that. So whoop, down to Bali for a couple days, for a week. And it was really great because work ended up paying for it because it was cheaper than returning to the US for a week.
Wow.
So that was a huge, huge plus. But yeah, just being able to hop around, staying at hostels or staying at eco resorts and, taking a little moped around the island and then going wherever I wanted was a ton of fun.
Sounds amazing.
I love
Dreaming.
it. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And sometimes that spontaneity, like you said, when people are married or have a partner long term, you can't have that spontaneity as much. And it can look kind of foolish, right? People are like, what are you doing? But when you're single, that's honestly some of the best moments are oh, I think I'm going to take this trip within the next 2 or 3 weeks. And I don't even know where I'm going to stay or what's going to happen, but it just becomes this huge adventure, right? And so I love that you've been able to do that with your life. It's just so sweet that some of those greatest moments, like I said, just come in that. And so, yes, so good to hear. And that was all, like you said, while working remotely at the same time?
I did a remote work season after that where I was able to go and work throughout Central America. So I lived in Belize and lived in Mexico and moved around when felt like it was the right time to move on. I met some community there. But yeah, that flexibility of remote work during the post COVID definitely had its benefits there too.
So good. Yeah, I think so much, we end up like in this, I don't know, our culture just paints singleness in a certain light. And I just love to be able to see just the different journeys and pathways that people go on, and they have the liberty to do so while single. And I love to hear about all these stories. So fun. So good. So sometimes singleness is amazing, like trips to Bali and spontaneity and all sorts of things. And sometimes it's awkward. So I'm just curious. You're a Midwest guy. I can only imagine what that journey's been like for you. I'm also Midwest, so I can say that. But yeah, just curious, Tyler, do you have any awkward moments, funny stories with family or anything that you want to share?
I have two. One, so I have some very dear, loving grandparents who are just a little very nosy. And every single time I go home, they're always like, well, you and your cousin, Ben, Ben has a girlfriend. He's the last one left we have to marry off. And they're like, we're not getting any younger. We want to see you, get married before we broke, we pass away and all. So I'm like, okay. So I think there's just some of that awkward pressure sometimes where it's like, okay, I am not getting married at 16 like y'all. Times are a little bit different than that. It comes from a good place, but it definitely can be awkward. The first time it's okay. The 10th time it's a little annoying. The second funny story just happened this week. I didn't even mention this beforehand. But it was a recruiter for a reality TV show reaching out on my LinkedIn, and they're like,
no way.
Oh, you look like you might be single and successful. Do you want to be on Married at First Sight? And I'm like, is this guy legit?
No way.
So that happened like last Monday. It was very, very funny.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Okay, we're catching on to something here. Okay, well, we got your interview first, just for the record.
That's right.
True. I did not accept.
Oh my gosh, that's very interesting. I love it. I know Catherine can relate to this too. Catherine is the last of her siblings. Catherine, do you want to speak to that at all?
Yes, it's always getting around family, and parents are pushing on that for sure, especially as they're getting older now too. Comes up very consistently that they're just waiting for me to get married off. But I'm like, come on, guys, I'm totally fine. Just living my best life here. And you guys don't even need to worry about it. And so I think I'm learning to push back though also, because it's one thing to just be like, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to get married eventually. And yes, absolutely, I will. But I'm like, hey, guys, no, can we talk about this a little bit? Like, I don't need to be married just yet. Like, do you see the impact and the things that I'm able to do with my life and finding contentment and all of that? And so it's actually been exciting to step back and push back a little bit on them, be like, hey, let's actually talk about this instead of me just being like, yeah, one day I'll get married. And so, because people need to hear about these conversations, right?
Yeah, so real. So real. Well, and it's interesting. We can maybe go there just for a little bit. What I found is they're constantly surrounded by their friends who are talking about their grandchildren. And so they don't have anything to contribute. And I'm just like, so you don't actually want me to get married. You just need something to talk about with your friends. And I'm like, let me give you 5 bullet points of the things that you can brag on me for. Here you go. Like, you don't.
Oh my gosh.
Go for it, Tyler.
It's so real though. No, like to your point, I think like my grandparents don't really understand what I do for work. They just knew that at one point I worked in the same building as Twitter. So I am now, not at all what I do. But they're like, he does marketing at Twitter. I'm like, no, I don't. But then you just want to brag. Like you're just making up stories because you want to have something fun to say.
Literally, at one point, my dad was like, how do I explain you to my friends? Like, are you some hippie living in Hawaii? Are you some entrepreneur? Like, how do I explain you? I'm like, Dad, this is great question. I was like, both. You could just say both. I'm an entrepreneur and I'm a hippie living in Hawaii. It's great.
Oh, that's funny.
But I did realize that was kind of the driving, because I'm like, why is this such an intense, constantly the topic of conversation? And I literally found out, it was like, all their friends are sharing, grandchildren photos and stories and all these things. And they just need something to talk about. I'm like, oh, well, I can fix that easy. Here you go.
Absolutely. Though, even thinking about it, a lot of this comes back to worldview and belief systems, right? And I mean, we hear it from parents and older generations, like you're saying, Tyler, just because people got married at a younger age, right? And so these days, we're not seeing that as much with people getting partners until older. Christy, what did you say the percentages of people in America who are single right now?
Yeah, it's actually, we just looked up all these stats because we're like, oh my gosh, I'm so curious. And 46% of American adults over 18 are single. Like, that's a lot of people.
That's wild.
So almost half.
Wow.
So pretty like large demographic. And that's why we think these conversations are so important. We really want our culture to be able to celebrate. I mean, 46% of American adults are not married. And so now, obviously, the demographics, if you double click on that, of like how many people are in committed, with committed partners, like there's all sorts of obviously nuances to that 46%. But we still felt like, wow, what an important conversation to have, especially given, as we were really decided to start this, because so many people are so discontent and just unhappy in their singleness, even though their like professional career is taking off. They have amazing community. They're having global impact with their lives. And yet, because this one piece is kind of missing, that culture, says you got to check this box in order to have made it. We really just were like, we want to challenge that and we want to go after this with everything we got. And so, yeah, here we go.
Yeah. I mean, just to build on that, I feel like, growing up for a lot of folks, you're given this blueprint. It's like, do the right thing, be smart, be the athlete, go out to college, get the degree, get the spouse ring by spring, have the house by 25, 2 kids, white picket fence.
Yes.
And it's so linear. And I think that in the global connected age that we are today, and just so much option out there, like, that's not the case anymore. And what happened, I find this, and I see this a lot with my grandparents. Love them, and I think that it's not right, it's not wrong, it's just different, is that they found a lot of their value and their identity in being married, right? And that's how they were accepted within society. And it's just not the case anymore, where you can have independent value, independent meaning, contribution, a lot of those higher level fulfillments in singleness too. It just looks different.
Totally. No, I love that, Tyler. And I think that's so important. And I would love to see just even like media kind of evolve with that. Because the other thing we've been kind of talking about is just like, even look at like children's movies and children's books and music, and it all kind of points towards this like climax of like, okay, the girl meets boy and they find this like beautiful, perfect love story, and then, happily ever after. And it's just not real life. And it really sets so many people up for just like these false expectations, and then a lot of really unhealthy thought patterns on yourself if you're not living in that linear progression after college in your 20s or even in your 30s, or, for some of our friends that we're going to be talking to in their 40s and 50s. And it's like, well, wait a minute, why is that the success metric? Hold up here. Like, we've got to reevaluate. So yeah, we're excited that we get to have these conversations.
Totally. Well, and I feel like what's really cool about celebrating singleness too is that if you ever talk to someone who may be in a marriage that has a little bit of regret, not to go too negative, I think that you can work through some of that beforehand and chase those dreams and explore some of those opportunities that some folks, wish they had taken the opportunity, took that plunge, hopped on that plane, moved to the other city, and get to think about what, rather than regret that and think about what could have been. It's like, okay, what will I regret on my deathbed? And that was one of the things in college. I was like, okay, you're gonna hop on a plane, move to another city, try it out. What's the worst thing that happens? You go back home, sleep on the couch or something. But it's like, okay, what am I gonna regret later in life that I didn't say yes to or didn't pursue?
So good. So good. Well, Tyler, talk towards that, because you did that. You hopped on the plane, moved to the new city. So we kind of did like a loop. I did Austin to San Francisco, and you did San Francisco to Austin. We can argue later who actually wins. I actually love both cities. So I think we both win. But like, you got to make that decision and didn't delay it, obviously, based on a relationship or anything. So can you kind of talk towards that a little bit?
Yeah. Yeah. I think for a while in life, like, I can bring the perspective of coming from a small Midwest town, right? Like, so I moved from the Midwest. I grew up in Indiana right after college. And like at this point in time, like my best friend was just getting married, starting a family, like everyone was doing intentional relationships. And I'm like, I'm moving to San Francisco. I'm gonna go work in tech. Uh, and I think what it allowed me to do is grow in self-confidence and self-determination, where you really have to listen to that inner voice and figure out, hey, like, is this what I need to do? Is this the truth for me right now? And it was. And I
So
think that
good.
sometimes the ability to have other folks around you that may not see or hear or believe that same conviction, like that can be hard too, right? Rather than getting tied down and feeling like you're gonna leave something behind, you really have the opportunity to move forward. So yeah, that was my experience moving to San Francisco and taking that big risk myself. And then similar to Austin, about 6 years later, we started again in Austin. Just felt like it's like okay, that's where I need to be, and move there and start over again. And I think that when you have that flexibility and also you are single, it forces you to create community, which is actually a big benefit. Like it forces you to get out there, meet new people, explore, because we all do need social interaction at some point.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I think even like you're talking about this piece with community. So when we have a partner, a lot of our time and energy is spent with that one person, right? And sharing things, going deep, all of that. But this expression of having community, it broadens your horizons a bit. It helps you to learn more about who's around you and receive different things. And yeah, I just love that. Can you talk a little bit about community then and how it has impacted you in singleness? Because I think that's one of the huge values that we have is recognizing, yeah, we were built for community and we can't do this alone, and isolating is no bueno, y'all. That's going to make you maybe turn into a little bit of a freak show. And we don't want that. And so, yes, can you talk into that a little bit, Tyler, and what community has done in your life? And yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think like community is often for me a reflection of the things that I aspire to, and also a reflection of the things that are a little bit icky in my own life. Of like, okay,
Mm,
like why am I getting rubbed the wrong way there? And it's usually because I'm also abrasive in that area. But it's given me just a tremendous amount of joy to make really deep friendships at a non-romantic level, right? And being able to be known and be seen by people is such a desire and a need. And in San Francisco, was able to create a lot of lasting friendships. I was just texting that group today. We're all over the world: Australia, Ohio,
mm,
DC, like Saudi Arabia. Um, but being able to go really deep with folks is important. And even if you're single or dating, um, like those friends need to speak into your life in a way that is consistent uh, throughout that time period. So that's really important. And I've seen that. I've actually even valued more so now, like friends that are married and being able to learn from them as well, because communication is consistent. Like you need to have good communication whether you're single or married, and I think it shifts a lot with those married folks and what they've learned in that as well.
I'm like, yes, my married friends, they really are
yes,
crushing the
yes.
communication game. We're going to all
I
learn.
like what you had to say, Tyler, also just about, being in friendship with one another, obviously in relationship and community, the deeper you go with one another, things kind of can come up in your heart, right? You're saying like, these people are pushing my buttons, this and that. And Christy, you have a little analogy about doors, about buttons and doors. You
Oh,
know that
sure.
analogy?
Yeah, I can
Can you
share. I
share
can
that?
share. Yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah, that's a good one. So, basically door one is I'm the problem. It's like someone says something, it's like, oh, I messed up again. Like, oh, I can't believe like something's wrong with me. Basically, it's door one.
Mm-hmm.
Door two is you get triggered and you're like, that person's the problem. That coworker shows up every Tuesday to this meeting in a bad mood and not with their deliverables, and they're always late, blah, blah, blah. Like that person's the problem. And that's why I had a terrible day. And I would let one person triggering me literally ruin the rest of my day. Right. And it's like, this person
Mm.
does show up. Maybe it might be true. This person shows up every Tuesday behind on their deliverables, in a bad mood, all this stuff. Well, that person might be going through a divorce, or who knows what's going on in that person's life. And you're letting that affect you. So door one is I'm the problem. Door two is they're the problem. Well, door three is, okay, let me pause, take a step back. like what's actually happening and what can I do differently? And like, just honestly, even like, there's all sorts of techniques here, breathing, just pausing. Sometimes like, you get that email from that one, like I use a lot of work examples because that's usually where I get the most fun little buttons pushed. But, you get the one email from the one cross-functional partner that's, you just dread that email every time. And it's like, well, hold on, wait a minute. Let's pause. Let's think about why is this triggering every time, and actually getting to like the root system there. But also like managing, okay, wait a minute. Like, do I need to interact with this person, or is there something I can do to make changes, versus like staying in door 1 or door 2 is just, I found, is not helpful at all. Where door 3, it's like, okay, what's actually happening? And how can I actually make a change that would change the situation moving forward? Or have the hard conversation. Hey, like, you show up every Tuesday. Do you realize how your mood impacts like 10 other people? And
Right.
I'm like, ask questions, right? Like, what's going on in your life? Like, actually be a human. Try to like figure out what's going on, why this is continuing to happen. Maybe they're overloaded, right? There's so much, especially like working in tech. It's like, who knows, they might be working on a completely different project on something like election integrity or something, where you're like, okay, understood why this other internal project is not as big of a priority, but let's figure out how we might shift those to get, the things that we need to get done. But so often we just keep getting triggered over and over and over again. Or we completely avoid those people, but then we keep getting triggered. And so I've just found like that analogy of like, okay, I'm definitely in door 1. I'm taking on all this shame or all this like whatever. Or door 2, I'm constantly playing the blame game, right? I see this happen a lot in romantic relationships. It's like, man, I just can't seem to find a guy that like has stuff together or whatever. And it's like, well, let's think about that. Like, why do you continue to go on second dates with guys like that? Like, maybe you don't know your value. Maybe you're not showing up on the first date with like knowing your value and being able to make that hard decision to cut it off. So, yeah, those are some thoughts, I guess.
That's good, Christy. And what you're talking about is this process of self-discovery, right? Like this is what I'm good at. This is what I'm not good at. Oh, this like makes me feel icky when this person says this. It's those triggering things. And that's what we're passionate about at Celebrating Singles, is recognizing that like, we're not just going about, like with our eyes closed, walking through life, dating people, this and that per se, but we really want to like have our hearts opened up to what is happening to the world around us, and to really grow, right? And to really like turn pain or different things into purpose and into passion in life. And so Tyler, I mean, we love hearing all the good high things that have happened in your life, traveling, this and that, but there can also be some like more painful parts of being single, or things that you discover about yourself. So can you share over the years, what are some things that maybe you've had to deal with? Maybe, I don't know if there's ever been loneliness or anything like that, or maybe some of these thought patterns that you've been believing about yourself that weren't healthy just based on you being single. Is there anything you could share about stuff like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, which one to start off with? Um, I think the biggest one is honestly self-love, and not in a cheesy like you throw a bath bomb and a glass of wine kind of stuff, but like, hey, this is what you're working with, Tyler. Like you have to love yourself, like the good and the bad, and accept that. And if you're constantly seeking external validation for that, it just comes off as desperate. No one really likes that, right? And people can feel that. So I think owning up to, hey, these are the areas that I can be really proud of and I'm really great at. These are the, shadow areas that are, not the greatest. These are people may say weaknesses. But being aware of that as well, right? Not necessarily saying it's a bad thing, but just being like, okay, that's not my strength. So really that self-love piece, is huge, and just like you are good enough, and anyone who's listening, like you are good enough, right? And that's a huge mindset to have, is that I am enough, especially for guys, is like I need to know like I am enough, and having people speak into your life and knowing that yourself is huge, because otherwise you're just going to be chasing the next promotion, the next date, or whatever it might be. The other thing is that like if you are in singleness, and a lot of people I assume are, like the best thing to do is really just like work on yourself, right? Like be excellent, pursue the good things that you're out there to do in the world and be passionate about them, right? Whether it be working out or a tech or a startup or launching a business, like you have so much time on your hands, like put that to good use. Obviously, have fun and have your hobbies and things like that, but use it to be really intentional and be driven in a couple different areas. So those are two big things that I learned throughout singleness as well.
Yeah, that's really good, Tyler. Can you also speak to, I just think you've done such a good job of like what you just talked about. Like, I know you're an artist. Like, he made, you guys, this epic painting that's in his house. And I was like, what? Like, you're this, so no offense, you're a tech bro, but you're also an artist. You've also been doing these different innovation labs all over the world. I'm like, okay, this guy's amazing. But what I love, like, you haven't delayed. There's been like no delay in your life to where I see other people kind of being like, well, maybe like, I don't know if I want to go after this yet because I'm like, waiting on that like partner. Can you talk towards that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I got called out because I'm wearing a vest today. I see you. The tech pros side. Yeah, I think that, like, to your point, doing things for the sake of doing them because you want to or feel inspired to is really valuable, especially in singleness. Right? So Christy was mentioning I hadn't picked up a paintbrush in ages, and drew a little bit in high school and in elementary school. But then about 2 years ago, I was just like had this inspired thought, like it's a rainy day. I was like, go buy art supplies and do that. I was like, sure. So I drew a little painting. I was like, oh, that's fun. And then it just kind of blew up. I'm going to take a little tangent here. But to your point about delaying, like, I was putting off buying a house for forever. And I was like, I'll keep paying rent until I'm married and have the right house and all these things. No, like, I'm going to buy a house. And luckily, had some great people speaking into my lives. At that point, it was actually my mother. She's like, you don't have to wait. Like, go do it. And I was so glad that she encouraged me to do that. So anyway, had a new house, had the ability to design what I wanted there, but then I just did this big, I think it's like a 4.5 by 4.5 piece of artwork on the wall, and just put honestly, about 20 hours into it. And it was in my garage and all these things, but it was just something that you're able to really zone in on and concentrated work and just have fun with it. So whether it be designing art or spending the whole day playing sand volleyball, like I think those are some of the freedoms and flexibilities that I've really enjoyed in that season, like this season of my life right now.
So good, Tyler. Just for the record, you are smashing every single like preconceived notion of tech bro as you talk about painting and designing your home and all the things. So just for the record, you guys, Tyler is much more than your typical tech bro, which is why we're so thankful to have you here today. Anything else, Tyler? Anything else that you would share with people who are obviously going on this journey to experience singleness in a different way, right? Is there anything else that you would share?
One of the things that I've really embodied is that I want to be married one day, and I'm still enjoying singleness. But if I have such high expectations for that other person of what they're supposed to be, shouldn't I be working towards those as well? Right? Shouldn't we go into that in a way where, like, if this is what you envision for that future, like post singleness, then get ready. And I think that that's a big piece for a lot of folks is they get stuck in analysis paralysis or depression, and those are real things, right? Not saying that those aren't. But you also have to shake yourself out of that rut and make progress. And one of the biggest things in life that's always gotten me out of a rut is just progress. Take the next step. Take the next best step, even if it's just a little thing. So that's what I would really encourage. Figure out what brings you joy. And it could be going paddleboarding, or it could be a guy's night or a girl's night or whatever it might be, a movie, and enjoy it. And also, like, this is one of the few times, like, you can binge watch an entire season of something over a whole weekend and no one's going to judge you because they don't know.
That's amazing.
So enjoy that.
I love it. Okay, wait, I'm totally going to put you on the spot here, Tyler. Do you want to talk a little bit about being intentional in singleness and maybe how that can prepare you for dating?
Yeah, I think being intentional in singleness really starts to bring forth like the priorities and what you value. And what I've learned over the last 6 months to a year, and I kind of put like that future spouse on a pedestal, right? Like of who she's supposed to be, what they're supposed to look like, all these things. It's like, wait, like peel that back a little bit, right? Because I think as you're in a season of singleness, like, the expectations, the bar gets higher and higher and higher. It's like, wait, like, okay, what really matters here? And do some reflection on yourself of like, what really matters in companionship and like what that person should be like, in order to make you happy and vice versa. So, yeah, that's something that I've really learned the last 6 months, especially, is just like my preconceived box that I'm thinking someone should fit in, often isn't the box that it needs to be or should be. So, yeah.
Dang, that's good. Okay, yeah, I gotta go think about that. That's a good one. That's good. Well, we are so grateful, Tyler, to get to celebrate you today and get to know you a little bit more. And you have dropped some just amazing nuggets, I think, to help people experience their singleness in a brand new way, in a fresh way. So thank you for just everything that is you. And yeah, we're just so thankful to have gotten to know you a little bit more today.
Likewise. Thank you all for what you're doing. And it was really fun to talk more about this. Thank you.
Awesome. That's good. Love it. Yes. So, hey, if you're listening to this today, we want to encourage you, follow us on Celebrating Singles at Instagram. You can find us on Facebook as well, on YouTube or Project Celebrating Singles, or check out the website, celebratingsingles.com, where we have tools for you if you want to start going on a journey with us and getting healthy, specifically even coming up the holiday season. You can get healthy for the holidays and even get healthy going into the new year. And so we just want to encourage you, head to the website, check it out. And we will see you next time when we have another guest on the podcast.
Bye, guys.